Hey, hi, hello! So I know this video technically doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but this is something I really wanted to talk about. So I recently watched Quinton Reviews' 8-hour-long Victorious video essay, just because I feel like I have to state this because this is the internet. No hate to him. Obviously, he put a lot of work into this video, but I didn't like the video. I liked parts of it, but I wanted to talk about the flaws of it in a critical way and kind of what this means for the video essay meta on YouTube, because I watch a lot of video essays. Obviously I make them, so I'm gonna watch a lot of people who are way better than me do these. I'm fine sitting through several hours of content as long as I feel like I'm getting through that. A Victorious video essay that I did enjoy was CJ the X's video, The Neurosis of Cat Valentine, which was 2 hours long, but I felt like I got something out of that whole experience and I didn't feel like it needed to be edited down. Meanwhile, in this Victorious video essay, I feel like I could have cut it down to at least 2 hours, if given the time. In fact, that is something as a college student that I've been working on a lot. I used to be, and I still am, a very verbose and wordy person, especially when it comes to essays, but you have a page limit in college. The goal is to get straight to the point, and I think because his essay was so long, the point that he was trying to make got lost, because I couldn't tell you what his beliefs are on the show besides Victorious bad. Probably. Also, like in the last video I posted, which as of recording was my SEL video, I had 44 minutes of footage recorded. It was down to 16 minutes by the end of that, which is the most I've ever cut out of a video. Now, was there content I could have kept? Probably, but I wanted to make sure everything flowed well, and especially because the script I wrote for that was a complete mess. Let me explain the video essay before I get into talking about it more. So, Quinton Reviews is a YouTuber on this platform who's known for making long video essays, particularly about Nickelodeon content, although he does have one about Garfield and I think a few other ones. And he's been going on this deep dive of specifically iCarly, Victorious, and all the surrounding shows, and I think he's planning on doing one about Sam and Cat, or at least that's the vibe I got from watching the 8-hour Victorious video essay. Now you might be like, Anne, if you didn't like the video and you thought it was too long, why did you watch an 8-hour video essay? The reason I didn't, as I think a lot of us watched it for, was for the bragging rights, because he gets to say, I made an 8-hour video essay, and we all get to say, I watched an 8-hour video essay, because that's how much I'm dedicated to watching video essay content, and that's how much I like this kind of content. And that's an issue, because his essay was very, very wordy. Basically what he did in this video is he went through every episode of Victorious seasons 3 through 5 individually, because he's already done a 5-hour video on seasons 1 and 2, and between that he had interludes about different cases of the show. So one of them was about the slap.com. If you've watched Victorious, you know that's the social media site where all the characters post, and he had a few other interludes in there. The longest one was about the slap and all the slap content that he was able to find, and I thought that was a really interesting segment as someone who didn't really get to watch Victorious in its peak and had to watch it on Amazon Prime Video during periods when I was around 10 and 11 when I couldn't fall asleep, or I would wake up in the middle of the night for a few hours and needed something to do, so I'd watch it on my iPod Touch until I could fall back asleep. This is how I experienced Victorious and iCarly. And so, the problem is there wasn't a lack of good content in the video essays itself. He had a lot of things that were interesting to discuss, but he also did a lot of things that I didn't like, because he would say, I'm gonna talk about this thing and I need to warn you or need to explain why I'm talking about that, and he would talk about that for 10 minutes. You don't need to do that at all. It just makes it sound like you're padding your runtime. You can do that in 2 sentences and move on, or if you need a more detailed explanation, it shouldn't take more than a paragraph. And by the time he talked about everything, what he really kept coming back to was that everyone who likes Victorious has an own version of Victorious in their heads. Now, I'm not going to deny that that's true, but he's padded the runtime with all the content of Victorious that he couldn't really land on that one theme. And I think that's the basis for a lot of my problems with this essay, is that it doesn't have a central theme. It has a bunch of things it's trying to prove. Like he said in a tweet, one of the reasons it was so long is he needed to set up how Jade and Tori were kind of in love with each other, which I think is an interesting idea and something that I didn't think of. Personally, I'm a Jade and Kat stan, even though I know in universe it doesn't work. And anyways, I think that because he could have gone way more into Victorious as everyone having a different image of it in their heads and what that means and why people think that way, and delving into fanon and how fandoms function, especially with Victorious, and how this show means so much to people even though we don't remember it, and maybe focusing more in on why are we remembering it, because I don't know why, other than we were young and we really liked the show and we couldn't figure out why, and so we all thought the characters were a certain way and they're actually not. I think that could have been a good essay by itself. In fact, I think this long essay would have benefited from being a series of mini essays, or at least the parts should have been split up differently. Rather than going through all the content, you go through each point you want to make and make that its own separate essay. Like talking about the weird queer coding in it could be its own video essay that someone could do way more succinctly and without it being scattered through. Because the problem is all his points are scattered through, so when he comes to his conclusion, he only really concludes talking about Victorious. He doesn't give you a good conclusion about the essay. So I'm gonna explain this in other terms. Let's say I want to write an essay about Subway, right? And so I decide to talk about all the factors of Subway. I think I just really want a sandwich right now. And I combine that into a video essay where I talk about the history, I talk about all the different sandwiches, I talk about any scandals that have happened with it, I talk about the service part of it and the production part of it and where they get their meat, and I have several points throughout the video. Maybe I have some point about their CEO that I want to make, but I also throw that in with how they treat their workers, and I throw that in with how this sandwich is better than the other sandwiches there, and how they should bring back the pizzas they used to have. And I just throw all of that into one video, and my conclusion is kind of a garbled mess of all the rest of it. I think that is the issue, because he put all these ideas he had about a show that he has thought a lot on, is that the essay kind of turns into just a lot of little things, so the point that you get isn't as great. In my seminar class, when people have been proposing their ideas, the one comment that everyone gets is, you need to focus in a little more. But I think that is where most of the problems come in, because as I was watching the essay as someone who likes to video edit a lot, I was like, I could edit this down, I could make this shorter. And I don't blame his editors, and I don't blame his editing, because I think part of the point of this video was to make it 8 hours, and I also think that he wanted to include all the content for a reason. But he didn't need to really give a full rundown of the episodes. I understand why he did it for people who didn't watch it, but at some point, I get that the show is longer than 8 hours, but it might be more beneficial for people to watch the show and then come in with their own knowledge. Like, there are several video essays I have watched about movies and TV shows that I have not seen just because I can't find them or don't have access to them or don't want to pirate them. And they don't go into every plot detail. In fact, I've seen a few video essays on The Shining, and I've learned new details about the movie from each one, even though I've never seen The Shining, because they all only include the details that are really important to their arguments. So if he did several different video essays, all his Victorious knowledge would come up eventually, but it would just be done in a different way. Even if you wanted to have a longer video, I think rather than structuring it around the seasons, again, you just put each section as its own little essay. Sometimes when you're a college student and you have to find information, you find a book that is just a collection of essays about a thing. Anyways, I think I've discussed enough what I take issue with, but I want to talk about what this means for the future of video essays, because content on YouTube is getting longer. YouTube is promoting longer content along with their YouTube Shorts, which every few months or so, the way my YouTube recommended changes, and right now it's recommending me a lot of YouTube Shorts and more clip shows mixed with long video essays, because long content keeps people on the platform, so they're going to promote that. And video essays are that content, because part of that is knowing that your audience will sit through what you have to say. I know in particular Sarah Zed's video essays have gotten a lot longer since I started watching her, same with ContraPoints and Philosophy too. A lot of them know that they can move to this longer form of content because people will watch and people will listen to their videos for that amount of time, so they can say everything they have to say, but they have something to fill that time. In those videos that I've watched, I never have really felt the time of it, but even in the first hour of Quinton Reviews video, I had felt the time, because it really felt like he was trying to pad this out as much as possible, which is an issue. I think longer video essays are fine, but they don't need to be that long. I will sit through a long video essay, but I don't want to feel the time of it. I want to feel engaged the whole time and not, wow, this is 8 hours. I think the problem is that because video essays are getting longer, people are incentivized, especially people with a following, to make their video essays longer. If I make a long video essay, no one's probably going to watch it. I try to keep all of these under 20 minutes because I know people will click on a shorter video from someone they do not know. I gotta keep these short. Quinton has a name associated with himself, and partially that is because of his long video essays, but that is because he does have merit and he does put in a lot of work to his videos. And I admire that, and I think he does have a lot of chops to do it, but I think he's kind of getting, as a lot of creators are getting, wrapped up in making your essays longer because you know people will watch it and because it's a good brag. And I know he partially did it for that. Like, I understand that's part of the reason why we watched it too, but I just think that a lot of people are going to see this and think, oh, they can do it, and their arguments are just not going to be as good, or what they're trying to say is not going to be as well communicated as it could be in 10 minutes. Again, I like YouTube a lot as a platform because it's one of the only places on the internet where I feel you can have a very nuanced discussion. I'm very much tired of TikTok and Twitter, where the only way to have nuance is in threads of videos which no one is going to see, and often people see a first take and go with it without understanding more about it. I like that YouTube can be an open conversation where you get to talk for long periods of time about something. I don't think Quinton or anyone who makes long videos essays on YouTube is better summarizing what they're saying in a tweet or a TikTok, because sometimes you need to explain the nuance of a singular statement. I could have just said, this video essay is not good because it needs to be edited and it doesn't have a point. But I think, one, that's very rude, and two, it doesn't get to the full scope of what I'm trying to get at. I think essays should be a range of any size for as long as it takes you to say something and to provide as much as you want to say about it. But I think you need to make sure your point doesn't get scrambled. And that is what I think happened with this long essay. And I think that if it was split up, you could have 8-hour content that was a lot more digestible and concise. Our goal should always be able to be concise and to present our arguments well, because I know personally that he can make a better video essay than I can. He's had more experience, and most of the people on this platform have, but I'm trying to make better video essays that say what I want to say. In fact, I rewatched my own videos to make sure I said what I wanted to say and I didn't misspeak. That's what we need to make sure we're always doing, because a long number can look good, but the content of what you're saying, how you're saying it, and your ability to get your point across are ultimately what I think matters. Anyways, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, no hate. I don't like spreading hate of any kind, especially to people I think do a good job, so I really just wanted to talk about essays and all of that because this is something I care about personally and wanted to talk about. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe and maybe leave a comment down below. But thank you so much, and please subscribe because you can always unsubscribe later. You could do that now if you wanted to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!